Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you guys how I like to photograph my shoes that I sell on eBay and Poshmark. You can use this method for whatever online platform works for you, but this is my tried and true, fast, efficient, and very thorough way to photograph shoes. So if that sounds good to you, stay tuned and we'll get into it. Okay, so before we get into the actual taking of the photos, we need to have our setup, and I'm going to talk to you about what it is I use and what it is I always have on hand when I'm photographing shoes, because these things are essential to making sure that you get a really good, clean photo that conveys everything you need to convey about the shoes. So the first thing is you need a place, a good place with really good lighting to photograph your shoes. I have this really great collapsible light box that I've had for a couple of years. I got mine on Amazon. I'll link it down below. If you can't afford a light box, you don't have room for one, whatever the reason is, there are lots of little tutorials all over YouTube and the internet for how to make your own makeshift light box. A little bit of poster board, a couple of lights, a good window. Those few things, and a little ingenuity, you can make a really great space for photographing your shoes. So there's options out there if you can't spend the money right now. Now, there's little things that we need in order to just make it flow. And usually when I'm photographing shoes, I've got anywhere from 25 to 75 to do. And I need things on hand so that I can get the job done better and faster. So I'm just going to go through one by one all these things that I have on hand. Actually, the first thing I want to show is my wiping cloth. Photographing used shoes can be dirty. We clean all of our shoes, but there's always going to be specks of stuff that fall out, and because you're working in a white space, you're going to need to constantly wipe out your space. So have a cloth on hand. You'll end up cleaning this or whatever every week or so. You need to always measure heel height. It's really important with shoes. So you have to have a ruler on hand. If you're doing tall boots, you want a measuring tape because the height of the shaft and the width of the shaft is really important to people. So you've got to have measuring tape on hand as well. Some assortment of brushes. Usually it's for lint or to maybe buff something up or take something out. Doesn't matter. You'll find uses. I keep one regular shoe shine brush on hand, and then I have a wire hair brush on hand. This is really good for suede. God, I use this so much I can't even tell you what I use it for at this point. Canvas, getting dirt out, all sorts of things. Like I said, we clean our shoes all the time, but we miss a lot of little things, or maybe something that we didn't think needed much comes into the light and you're like, oh, that actually needed more cleaning than I thought. You're gonna need an eraser, especially if you're doing used shoes, because you've got companies like Goodwill and other thrift shops. They usually will put like a little X on the bottom of their shoe. Actually, here it is, look at that, an X right at the bottom of the shoe, and an eraser just across there, like couple times. We'll take it off, and then I have to do it a little more than that, but it'll take it right off, so you need that eraser on hand. Okay, so the next thing you need is a pair of tweezers. Usually what I use this for is for the shoes like Uggs that have a paper tag, and nobody wants to see your fingers in the photo, so don't stick your little fingernails in there. I don't care what kind of manicure you have. Nobody wants to see your fingers. So you use the tweezers, you pull your little tab, and then you take a picture with the tweezers, because that just looks way more professional. A couple other things that you're going to need: something to pop up the shoe in some way, shape, or form. Just depends on the shoe. You can order these super cheap in packs of, 10, 20 from Amazon. They pop a lot, so you'll go through them. I was really resistant to these at first when I became a shoe seller, but a popped up shoe that looks full is way better, and has this sticking out is just way better than a flat, like deflated shoe. On that note, you can use these for your boots, which are just cut up pool noodles. I've got typical shoe insert things like this. I have wood ones when I'm doing men's loafers. And then one of my favorite things to use for shoes, actually a few of them, are, when you buy shoes, they come with tissue stuck in the toes there. This is great for women's loafers. And then when you're doing men's shoes, you stick these in there, and it pops up the top of the shoe, and it just makes it look nice and professional and presentable, which is, again, what you're really going for when you're trying to sell used shoes. The other thing that is, I almost forgot to mention, is this poster board at the bottom of my light box. So I buy poster board in packages of, I I don't know what size packages they come in. I don't buy them single because I go through one poster board a week. So I put the poster board here because of how filthy it gets and all the marks that it gets. I flip it over when it's had enough, and then I throw it out when I'm done, and I just leave the pack of poster boards sitting there. I also have black available because when you're photographing white shoes on white, it looks like crap. So using black poster board in here really helps the white pop, and it really helps your customers to see flaws or any little details in the shoes that you might miss otherwise. So that's everything you need to get started. So let's actually get started. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I photograph a bunch of different kinds of shoes. I've got pumps, otherwise known as high heels. You're going to need to learn that some are pumps and some are heels. I've got tall boots, I've got ankle boots, I've got sneakers and loafers, all the kinds of shoes that I do and how I do them and the details that I make sure to hit for each one, because there are separate things that are needed to be known for different shoes. So come on in. Okay, so I just use my phone to take pictures. I am on an iPhone, so I need to turn my phone sideways to get my pictures to be taken properly. That's a really important key. Turn your phone sideways. I take all my photos in square. That's how eBay likes it. That's how Poshmark, that's how all the online platforms like the photos, is to be in square. So the first cover shot that I do is just a side profile shot. It's what I like. It's what it looks nice. I hit the phone to adjust the light, and then I just give it a little bit more exposure until I don't see that back white line from the poster board, and then I just take the photo. So that's going to be my cover shot. That's going to be the first thing that people see when they look at the picture, when they're scrolling actually. So then what I'm going to do is, the goal is, we're going to take pictures of the shoes going this way, we're going to do the sides, and then we're going to do the bottoms, and we're also going to take a photo of the size tags. So go in here, get a picture of the toes. That's really important. And you just snap that photo. Then I go and I try to get a picture here and make sure you're always tapping to adjust that exposure. And I take a photo of the insoles. Then I turn them around. Real quick, real easy. I get the phone right down here on the, what do you call this thing? The light box. Again, adjust that exposure. Sometimes it'll over adjust and you need to bring that down. Now remember, you are trying to show your shoes in the best light possible. You are not trying to hide any flaws, and I purposefully chose a pair of shoes with a flaw so that I can show you how I would highlight that. You've got a heel here, so you want to make sure that you're photographing the height of the heel. Do not leave room for interpretation between you and your customer. That just opens you up for them to say, oh, that's not, item wasn't as described, now you have to pay the shipping. So communicate everything you can about the shoes in the photos, because you cannot argue with the photos. Turn them on their side, bring them into a nice, side-by-side position, get right over the top, adjust the exposure, not too much, especially on brown, because the brown color can change in the photo. Flip it. See how I do that? I just, yeah, saves time. Again, get right over top, make sure that the color hasn't over-adjusted. Snap that photo. Then I'm going to turn it upside down, and this is where the flaw shows, and I'm going to get up close on that. I don't hide my flaws. I have a lot of integrity as a seller, and I do sell shoes that have these flaws because people know and feel comfortable with exactly what they're getting from me. Come over to the top of your shoe and take a photo of the bottoms of the shoes, because what really communicates how much wear a shoe has been through are the soles. You can get a sense of just how much she wore her shoes by seeing how much wear there is here and how much wear there is here. You can sell shoes that have plenty of wear on the bottoms. Just disclose it. That's really what it comes down to. Disclose everything and you can probably sell it. And the very last thing that I take a photo of, and you might have to do some searching on this, is the size and the style number or name. That's super duper important, because A, you don't want your clients or your customers to guess at the sizing, and you don't want to have to go searching for where that is. So usually what I do is I get in here and I 2 times it so that it's right up close, and then I snap the photo. And what I'll also teach you guys is that if there's no style name in here, there is a style number, and you're going to want to look that up and figure out what the name of the shoe is, because people love their styles of shoes and they will search for them by name. I do all the time. So that is a pair of pumps, and we'll go on to another pair of shoes in a minute. Okay, so the next thing we have are a pair of ballet flats, and the way I'm going to show you ballet flats applies to things like loafers, sneakers, any kind of a flat, simple shoe. So you want to go in now. Oh, I don't know if you caught that, but a lot of times when you turn your phone sideways, your phone may not have actually turned and oriented, and you'll notice that by seeing that where it says things like HDR, it hasn't turned. So give it another little shake if your phone's not orienting the way it needs to. Okay, my way that I like to present, this is my proprietary, it's not really proprietary, this is just the way that I like to present my shoes for their cover shot, is some kind of a V where the front shoe does one of these, and sometimes I need to adjust the angle. It just depends what I'm photographing. If it's a sneaker, usually it's a little bit lower. If it's a pair of ballet flats like this, that's my cover shot, and that's the way I like to present my flats. My son is in here, by the way, in case you hear a little rooting around. So again, you're going to come and bring the toes forward and get that exposure up so that it looks nice and crisp and white in the background, and then you snap that photo. With ballet flats or loafers, you really want to get the toe area here, and where the rubber meets the tip there, that tends to separate on a lot of shoes, and that tends to wear on a lot of ballet flats, because when you have a ballet flat, pretty much all of this eventually wears out. So you really want to highlight that, because when you're trying to sell a pair of used ones, you're trying to convince somebody why this is a better buy than a brand new pair. And you want to show them everything you can. So you've got your toes done. You come right over the top, get your top shot, flip them around, get your back shot, and this is also the same idea as the front. A lot of the wear that I find on ballet flats, because of people's weird foot alignment, this just gets terribly worn. So you want to try to show that my pair is not worn or my pair is worn. You're going to do your sideways flip, and you're going to need to learn how to start balancing your shoes, because a lot of times shoes will like to do that. I've gotten really good at it over the years, so I know how to do it without having my shoes fall on themselves all the time. Get your exposure, make sure that it's crisp and clear, but you're not altering the color of the shoes. Take your photo, flip them around, make sure that they stay, expose, take your photo, and then you're going to do the bottoms, which are super important, especially on ballet flats. So usually this is good enough, and I can get the whole bottom in there. But if you have a pair of ballet flats that for whatever reason the person walked funny on them and there's a little more wear here, or there's just weird wear on them, get a close-up shot of that. Again, communicate everything you possibly can about your used pair of shoes so that your buyer knows exactly what they're getting. People will be willing to deal with a lot more imperfections if they know the imperfections and if they feel that you're not hiding anything. Very last thing you want is to root around in here for where the size tag and the the style name is. On Lucky Brands, they like to put it right down in here by the toe, so it's really hard to see, and this is why the 2x function is great on your camera, and you just get that photo as well as you can. Now, I know, because I've taken photos and sold, 100 and some of these in the last few years, I know that this is called the Emmy Ballet Flat. If you don't know it, and you can't see it in the photo, you take a photo to communicate to yourself, oh yeah, that's the Emmy Ballet Flat. You don't have to put the photo in your listing, but at least you've communicated to yourself what it is, so you don't have to try to remember or go, wait, what were those again? Because let me just tell you, it's a pain in the ass to go rooting around in your shoes when you're doing your listings at 11 o'clock at night. So that's ballet flats. Okay, so the next thing we have are tall boots. Tall boots take a little bit more time to photograph. They're not quick and easy, 45 seconds like a pair of ballet flats or a pair of loafers are. But the return on investment on tall boots is really good. You're going to need to stuff your boot with something, because otherwise it does this, and leaning it against there, that looks deflated and sad. Again, you want to present everything in the best possible light, So stuff it. I always recommend a pool noodle. It's the best choice. You can use whatever you have on hand. Cut some cardboard. You can, I don't know how I found these, but I found that if you roll them, it acts like a nice little pool noodle type thing in there, and it'll hold something up. Get creative until you can find what it is you need. And now we'll begin. Oh wait, we need to do the other one. Okay, so if you're in a light box, wherever you are, you're gonna need to go all the way to the back so that you can cut out the edges of the light box in the photo. Because I personally feel like when you can see the back corners in there, I think that looks like total crap. And for me, it looks a bit unprofessional. So come in nice and tight. And again, adjust that exposure. Make sure that you're oriented properly and take your photo. And then you're gonna turn and do toes. Now these are like an oiled waterproof thick leather, and usually we would try to color correct as much as we can on our leather. These aren't going to take the color very well, and they really don't need it because they're a rugged shoe boot, so we just leave them as is, but disclose it. So get real close on there, don't be afraid. Pull back, get a shot of the entire front of the boot. Now I want to really erase that back line, but I can't do that at the cost of the color of the boots. So you're gonna have to compromise and show a little of the back line. If you're not a perfectionist like me, it doesn't matter. This is like the bane of my existence right here. Turn them around so that you can see the entire back of the boot. Don't hide anything, show every angle that you can. Fix your exposure, bring it down a little bit. I see the back line, but that's okay because I'm showing the boot as it is. This is the part where you might have to get a little creative if you've got really tall boots. These are not that tall, so they fit nicely, but I've had boots that are super tall and the shaft is really long, and I've got like an end of my boot hanging off the edge. Luckily, that's not the case today. You're gonna get at a bit of an angle here so that you can get both sides of the boots. Do your exposure and adjust that color and take your photo. I like to show a little bit of the bottom, it's just my preference. Flip them around again. And I have a reason for why I did this one first, and you'll see it in a moment. Everything I do when I photograph is about being as efficient as possible so that I can get this done and over with. So I've taken that photo, and now I need to take measurement shots of, there it is, of the shaft. So this is the shaft of the boot. People always need to know what is the length of the shaft because everybody's got different size legs. So I just put my measuring tape right there, and I get a shot of the entire, oh, see, there it goes, the entire shaft of the boot, and I take that photo. I don't even actually translate the number into my listing. I just let my customers look at the photo and figure that out for themselves, because that's less chance of me screwing it up when I'm trying to do my listings. Then you're gonna take your stuffing of whatever kind you have out, put the measuring tape right at the top, hold it down, get right over top of that opening with the measuring tape, showing where it's starting and where it's ending, and take that photo. It doesn't matter if you color correct it or not. People aren't looking at that. People really want to know, what is this measurement? This is so important for people. If you have wider calves, you understand that. If you don't have wider calves, it's kind of a new thing to you, but you've got to communicate that as much as possible. And then we look for the size and style number and brand. Get real close to that so it takes up the whole photo. Snap that. And the last thing you need to do are the soles. And because it's really difficult to put a pair of boots down, like these lay fine and I could do a photo like that, but most of the time when I have boots, I will do the soles just like that if they'll stay. And then I'll also get a close-up of the heel. So I do that. Oh, I got it right before it moved. These are little games I'll play with myself. Like, can I snap the photo before it falls? And then I get up close on the heels right there so they can really see the wear on the shoes. And again, like I said, you can judge how worn a pair is really by how worn the bottoms are. And so that's a really important thing to make sure that you capture in every pair of shoes that you're photographing. And that's tall boots. Okay, so I am going to photograph a couple pairs of shoes for you in real time to show you guys how quickly I can make this method work for me. Ready? here we go. So my camera's ready. I've got a pair of Vionic sandals right here. And this is really how quickly I work. I'm just doing my thing here. It's always weird when somebody's watching you though. I have done this for I don't know how many thousands of pairs of shoes at this point. I could pretty much do this in my sleep. There you go. That's one pair, and I'll show you one more pair. I do throw the shoes down when I'm done with them. I don't like stop each time and go, let me place these gently somewhere. Because the name of the game for me is being efficient and quick so that I can move on to all the other things I have to do with my day. And when you work from home and you're a parent, that list gets really long, really fast. And I'm just getting a close-up of the size on one side, and then flip that and get that. And that's it. That's 2 pairs of shoes. That's how quickly it gets done. And that's how I photograph shoes. So I really hope that that helps you guys. If you have any questions, all the knowledge that I have in my head is free to you guys. You can just ask and share. If you got any value out of this, please hit the like button. It is a lot of value to me for you to do that. And also please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be sharing pretty much everything about how I run my eBay business from home so that I can help and empower all of you during this really crazy time that we're having as a human race to make some money for yourselves so you can keep food on your table and a roof over your head. Thank you for watching.